Hey, all my Scorpio friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your March 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Scorpio, I'm talking about Scorpio rising. This is also applicable to Scorpio sun and Scorpio moon. And if you have a stellium, which is 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Scorpio, this video is applicable for you as well. These videos are also based on the Pacific time zone. So when I talk about a day and a time, if you're not in the Pacific, please adjust for your location. And I just want to mention this because I think it's very powerful. If you are a late degree Scorpio rising, that would be anywhere between 20 degrees and let's say 29 degrees Scorpio rising. That would make your first house primarily Sagittarius in the Placidus system. And I think this is very powerful because that pushes all that Scorpio energy into the 12th house, which is significantly different energy than the first house. So if you are more familiar with your natal chart and you know how to change the house systems, you might want to pay attention to the houses and the degrees of the houses, which will give you more detail about how the influences of the stars will affect you. So let's just jump in and start off with where we left off in February, which is the conversation between Saturn, the Sun, and Mercury. And this is in your 5th house of Pisces, the house of creativity, the house of conception of children, the house of in many ways, your unique expression. It's traditionally the house of Leo, which is complementary in many ways. Pisces is very creative. Leo is very creative. Here in the traditional 5th house, we see the performer, we see the clown, we see the child, we see leadership and courage of the heart being required. Now we superimpose that Pisces energy over your 5th house, and we're seeing even more creativity in the form of song and songwriting or lyrics, poetry, filmography, photography. It's a very dreamy Pisces, very dreamy energy. So here with Saturn over for the next almost 2 years going through your 5th house, it's offering you an opportunity to really dig deep and put some roots to build on your creativity. And if you want to have children, this would be part of that building process, is to trust your body, to trust your soul's journey through this lifetime. Saturn, well, it often talks about restriction, talks about limitation, rules, even authority. I think authority comes from our fears. And so here, Saturn in Pisces is sort of starting to want to root in a spiritual way of looking at life. So here, if there's a disruption, how can I build upon it? How can I use the sun in Pisces to identify how I assert myself, what I think about within my ego? And then Mercury is representing my thoughts, my speech, how I express myself verbally to others, to my community, how I take in information. And all of this is in the 5th house of your opportunity to capitalize on your creativity and to also use your enjoyment, personal pleasure, and hobbies as a way of diffusing from the rest of your life, meaning a way of releasing stress or releasing feelings of obligation. Let's go now. This is the main influence here for the first couple of weeks of the month. I also think that the conversation between Mars and Venus in the futuristic sign of Aquarius, which is your 4th house of home, this could very much indicate conversations between the feminine and the masculine about the 2.0 version of what we want for ourselves in the way of home, looking out to the future. We are going to feel very strongly, all of us are going to feel the growing conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus as we go through the month of March. I mean, we've been feeling it all year long, but it's going to get very much more intense in March. And then, of course, the exact conjunction is in April. This is in your 7th house of partnerships. Now, Scorpio, I want to say this because partnerships can often be marriage partnerships. That's what we traditionally see in the 7th house. But the 7th house also rules peace, harmony, diplomacy, cooperation. It rules partnerships that are contractual, meaning professional partnerships. Now we look at Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus traditionally rules the seventh house. So there's a real opportunity here for you to build and expand on your business or on your personal endeavors to create abundance and flow through your skills, through your voice. Jupiter not only rules expansion, wealth, foreign people, foreign places, and higher education, it rules business and commerce and marketing and influencers. And here we see Uranus ruling the future, liberating myself from any chains, old historic chains from my personal life, my personal upbringing. Taurus being your Taurus being your seventh house. This could be how you have seen yourself historically in relationships. Taurus naturally rules our self-confidence and self-worth, our skills, our voice. It's also a building house. So even though Saturn is in the sign of dreamy water, it wants to build upon that water. It wants to use that water as an emotional platform for manifestation and connection to the divine. The universe absolutely responds to our emotional body. We cannot fake it. And that's why, when we see our relationships with our animals, we see our deeper energetic imprint. I'm just got a Caesar Milan reference. I don't know why, Scorpio. All right, let's go to, kind of want to jump now to the 10th. We're going to see a new moon in Libra, which is very powerful because it's in your 12th house. So here, this new moon in Pisces, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. We're going to have a lunar eclipse in Libra in your 12th house. So let me back up the bus here. I got ahead of myself. We are still looking at your 5th house of Pisces. And here, this new moon is planting the seeds for that creativity to grow. It is capitalizing on the conversation that Mercury and the Sun were having with Saturn. This is the 5th new moon at the 20th degree, which is the Scorpio degree. That is your degree. This is an opportunity to sort of have an awareness where, power or control, fears, things outside of your physical eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, but run deep within your emotional body. These are the things that I think have been, almost like a series of waves have been coming into your awareness. And now you're planting the seeds for the transformation of that, for this opportunity to use that as a platform for expansion and growth, as we see over here in your house of Taurus, which is that 7th house of partnership. I think it's a very powerful time, and we are going to see a full moon lunar eclipse in your 12th house, which is naturally the Piscean house later in the month. So the seeds that you're planting now feel as if there is a possibility of course correcting, balancing, shifting, having an awareness that leads to an intention about a soul's ancestral imprint that up until now has tethered you to a dynamic that didn't allow you to grow, expand, and move into a future version of yourself. So I think this is very, very powerful. About a year ago or so, you were experiencing a nodal return. We saw the north node in Taurus and the south node in Scorpio. So this was bringing in an awareness as things would either leave your life or in some ways feel a sense of taking a back seat. And so over these last couple of years, Scorpio, there's been these opportunities for awareness and then to take the power of the Scorpio energy and to focus it and to drive it towards what you want in the way of a new version of yourself. During this new moon, we see your co-ruling planet at the 20th degree. So this is about brave action. And Pluto, your ruling planet now, is offering you innovation, offering you a transformation in your 4th house of home, of it's kind of turning the toxicity of potentially what your home experience was or has been and rising like the phoenix up and out. We see Pluto is making some nice sextiles here to Neptune, this very spiritual energy at the 27th degree of Gemini, ruling childhood, and then a very powerful Mercury at the 0 degree on the world axis, giving me an opportunity to be aware of those thoughts, the thoughts that run through our brain like a loop. They're not actually conscious or intentional thoughts. They're an imprint of some kind. And the transformation of them is what we're potentially focusing on here as we're planting the seeds for something new. We also see that Venus is about to move into her exaltation, and within a day or so, we will see, actually, that's not true. Within about a week or so, we'll see the sun move into its exaltation, which is, again, I think very powerful for creation, the planet that rules the feminine and the planet that rules growth. In there, in two houses where they are revered, they are honored, and they are celebrated. Let's move on to now. Let's go. We'll go there. Let's go to the 20th. And let me move this to 12 p.m. And we see the sun has entered Aries. We see Venus and Saturn in a very tight conjunction. Here, I believe that Venus, when she was moving through Capricorn back in January, Scorpio, she was really wanting to build on her skills. And here we have the ruler of Capricorn at the Piscean degree. We have Venus ruling our voice, our skills, our ability to make money at the Capricorn degree in Pisces. This feels like a summit, a conversation where Saturn is teaching or reminding Venus what she's capable of when she endures beyond her eyes, her ears, her nose. When she endures beyond the emotional discomfort of the unknown. And I think this is really powerful moving forward, because I think this is cooperative. This is Saturn sitting in an energy that he did during the golden age before fear took over and he did some really weird paranoid stuff. I also think that when I see the sun and Neptune together, and they've been together for a few days, this feels like a beautiful sunset to me. You know, oftentimes people will say that the sun combusts whatever planet it's near, but as the sun ruling the zodiac, it feels like the sun is now taking a more elevated and benevolent, a kind ruler, inviting his light to allow growth and expansion for all. And so this Neptune energy makes me feel like I'm starting to feel dreamy. My thoughts are about, you know, what can be, and living a more authentically spiritual, physical experience. That's the way I want to kind of put that. We also see with the sun exalted in Aries that it is making a sextile to Pluto. Now, they had a very intense conversation when the sun moved into Aquarius, and this was something about transformation of the ego. And while it has not been practiced yet, we see this, you know, half square to Jupiter. It isn't anchored in. It is in a continued state of evolution, as the sun in the sign of Aries says, how do I assert myself in a way that stands in the hero energy versus the warrior energy? Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is your co-ruler. So it is on some level always going to be a cooperative energy for you, at least from my point of view. Now we're going to see on the 22nd, not sure Mars has gotten there yet. A little later in the day, I'll go to the 23rd. Mars has moved into Pisces. Traditionally, we think this is kind of a dampening energy for Mars. Not only does Pisces rule the 12th house of the unseen, here fire and water, you know, create steam, or it extinguishes the fire. But now, you know, I'm really starting to feel like a revolutionary astrologer, because this is the spiritual warrior. I believe that, you know, Saturn and Mars are very cooperative. Saturn rules Capricorn, Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So here we see Mr. Miyagi and Daniel. And Mr. Miyagi may have Daniel do a lot of chores over and over again repetitively that seem to do nothing but clean Mr. Miyagi's yard. Mars is learning skills, instinctual skills, things Mars can't see with his eyes, but can only feel with his heart. At the same time, Saturn and Venus are still having a conversation about building, about applying my skills, about tenacity, about tapping into the receptive energy of Venus. The universe will provide as you sit emotionally in reception for what it is you want to create and experience. And I really think that this is powerful because we're seeing the sextile to Jupiter right now. So as I'm shifting my beliefs, as my ideologies are expanding, as I'm going into emotional new territory or foreign territory, I think this is super, super powerful because it is going to, in some ways, illuminate. Here's Venus, the ruling planet of the South Node that's in a quincunx to the South Node right now. This is sort of a blind spot. So normally Venus in Libra wants to be accommodating to its partnerships, put other people first to make them comfortable and happy. And the South Node is saying, is that working for you? Because you may have to be egoless to that. They may have to feel a sense of loss with your light shining on them so that you can shine the light on yourself. And then as you build you, you become more powerful to shine your light back on them. I hope that made sense. It seems to make perfect sense to me. So this is very much taking these planets and calling forth the highest vibration of their intuitive knowing that then births a physical experience and allows for expansion and abundance. Now we have a powerful eclipse coming up on the 25th. This is going to be at 1 a.m. Pacific time. And this is a full moon we see. It's at the 5th degree of Libra. This is your 12th house. This is what I alluded to earlier in the video, because I think for my Scorpios, this might be the most powerful aspect of the month, because the 12th house is, again, naturally the Pisces house where we've been seeing this conversation going on. The 12th house is where we release the physical and go back into the collective. It is a house that is not seen. It feels invisible behind the first house. There's a lot of spirituality in the 12th house, but there's a lot of physical invisibility in that house. And so I think this is an important opportunity to say, within your partnerships, within your the harmony you create with others, the harmony you create for yourself, the civility, how you use your knowledge, your inner knowing. Scorpio is so incredibly psychological. And when it is aware of the psychology versus just reacting, it can be so incredibly expansive and transformational. So this full moon is going to illuminate something that is important to you, Scorpio, something that plays to your heart. This 5th degree is very powerful as well because it is the Leo degree of self-expression and of creativity, of building something again, of birthing something. Now, on top of all of that, the moon is within a few degrees of the supergalactic center at 2 degrees of Libra, 2 degrees, 22 minutes. The supergalactic center is part of the Shapley cluster. And that point within the Shapley cluster is really a point that is calling forth and illuminating the relationship you have with yourself, the health of that relationship, and how you take that health and bring it into your relationships with others that then helps create peace, harmony, diplomacy, comfort, ease, abundance. So this eclipse is going to bring up something. It's going to illuminate something about expressing yourself individually. Let's look at the aspects the sun will make. The sun makes still a favorable aspect to Pluto for transformation. And I think that this 4-degree orb is still very powerful because Pluto is very powerful. And it may be a small planet, but it packs a punch. We also see that Neptune is still within orb of the sun. And here I really think this is calling forth that how is my ego asserting itself that represents the deeper part of my soul and what I believe in a way that shows beyond my physical being. Now let's take a quick peek at what the moon is doing, because the moon is also making a favorable aspect to Pluto. This transformation, this trine is very powerful. Now we have a square and a half here to Uranus, but this to me feels a little bit like a blind spot that I can't see, because Venus co-rules both Taurus and Libra. Taurus is where your skills reveal themselves in the beginning of your life's journey. It is where the family has imprinted your self-confidence, your self-worth. And here, I think there's a potential that you can't see your own innovation, Scorpio. You can't see the evolution that you have been going through, because you've been taking it one fire at a time, for lack of a better term. And now maybe there's an opportunity for you to actually start to connect, that you are in your awareness. You may be like Michelangelo in your own life, chipping away your David, but because you've been doing it for so long, or you're standing so close to it, you can't actually see how much you've created. And taking a step back is going to serve that in a more powerful way, being able to look and assess, because all of these planets are starting to converge in this Pisces, Aries, and Taurus energy. So this is really going to reflect, your fourth, fifth, and sixth houses. That Pisces being Pisces is your fifth house, Aries is your sixth house, and Taurus is your seventh house. So those are going to be illuminated throughout the month of March, as well as moving into April and that grand conjunction. All right. Sorry if I was a little choppy here. I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but thank you for joining me, Scorpio. I hope this was helpful for you. This is a big year in so many ways, because I believe an awareness is coming forth that we've never had before. I believe that is what Pluto represents as it moves into Aquarius. And with that awareness of our thoughts and the loops in our mind, we're going to start to harness that, focus it, and manifest in ways we never have in previous generations. All right, everybody, I will see you in April. Have a wonderful March. Please like, please subscribe, please share. And if you'd like to book an astrology reading with me, I am available. All right, Scorpio, see you soon.